Hello ladies and gentlemen, Willie here. So originally I wasn't really going to make this video, having already done a video in particular about GDKP runs and what I think about them, which pretty much came up to the summary of not really a fan because of the type of activities that they can encourage. But I've just decided, well, actually I do feel like talking about this, so here we are. So just the other week, a European guild completed a GDKP run, clearing 15 out of 15 in Naxxramas, which in of itself might be quite the shocker that a guild has actually been able to achieve that, but it is one of the more competitive guilds in the world, and one that was also able to achieve a clear on day one, so there you go. And upon taking down the final boss, Kel'Thuzad, Gressil Dawn of Ruin dropped, an extremely sought after item. This is the best one-handed sword in all of Classic WoW, so of course those DPS warriors are going to be pretty keen to get their hands on it. But the amount it ended up going for was pretty much beyond anyone's wildest dreams, with a player forking out 198,000 gold, which as you can see from the title equates somewhere in the region of $3,000. So I just want to explain how much 198k actually is in sort of a more tangible way. So I've heard that items have gone for over 6-digit figures over in China in GDKP runs, but they have the WoW token, so I'm not really that surprised. But in EU, where this item was sold, it is a totally different story. The actual gold cap for Classic WoW is 214,748 gold, 36 silver and 47 copper, which is basically a technical limitation of the client we're playing on. It's the same as old school RuneScape, except there it's 2.147 bill, which is a little bit strange given the fact we were told we're playing on a Legion client, which I can remember the Mad Merchant there selling a battle pet for 500k and the big spider mount for 1 mil, so I'm not quite sure why this is the case. No changes, I guess. There were even reports from the same raid where the sword went for 198k, the same person also spent a further 35,000 on other items, so they would have gone over the gold cap in a single raid evening. Do you remember back during the start of Phase 5 when people were looking at buying the Scarab Lord, which part of the quest required 42k Silithid Carapace fragments? Many people paid in the regions of about 60 to 80k for that, and that honestly isn't too unreasonable. It seems a little bit pricey, or maybe more than a little bit, but that mount, and when TBC comes around, the Scarab Lord title are forever. It was a limited time event, it's not going to be coming back unless they release new servers alongside TBC or Wrath of the Lich King, which happened back in the day, but by and large I wouldn't really be counting on that. And on top of that, the event was a limited time on each server, depending on how quickly the hand-ins were done, and you really had to move and pay out as soon as possible. It was all about the exclusivity. So 198k for one item is just beyond unreal. You might just say, well, it's somebody who's invested gold and made smart buys from early on into the game and now's just sold everything off and is just throwing their money because maybe they don't want to play TBC, for example. But even still, there's going to be quite a few more items that you would want from Naxxramas as a warrior. I mean, don't tell me somebody with this much gold to throw about isn't going for items like Slayer's Crest, Might of Menethil, or even Corrupted Ashbringer just to flex. And on top of all this, the actual event was streamed live to a pretty sizable audience. And the reason that was given to how this guy managed to amass such an incredible fortune was he does a lot of Diamall East. So 198,000, let's say 60% of that wealth came from arcane crystals acquired within Diamall East. In reality, it's higher than that number if we were taking the arcane crystals as of 100%, it'd be somewhere around the 70 to 80% mark, but let's lowball it, just for the sake of it, which leaves us with 118,800 gold. The average price of an arcane crystal on Gehennas Alliance over the past 90 days is around 60 gold or so. I would say maybe he ended up selling for a bit higher. Usually if somebody's this good at making money, they know when to sell. So let's call it just under 2,000 arcane crystals, or 1,966. Nearly enough for 20 Thunder Furies. But how long would that take to get through Diamall East though? So at the end of the instance, I've done a fair bit of it myself, about 800 runs. There are between 2 to 3 rich thorium veins. Each mining node has a 3% chance per swing to get an arcane crystal, and you get 2 to 4 taps per rock. So on the low end, you're going to get 4 taps minimum per run. On the high, you'll get 12. So we'll call it 8 average. And with numbers this large, averages really do start to come in. So bearing in mind 1 in 33 chance to get an arcane crystal, 8 taps average per run, you should get on average 1 arcane crystal per 4 runs-ish. And granted that 60% of the price paid for Gressil is 1,966 arcane crystals, with the prices on the server, that would equate out to somewhere in the region of about 7,500 to 8,000 Diamol East jump runs for one item. How long would 8,000 runs take though? Wow, what a great question. There is a 5 instance lockout cap per character per hour, meaning your runs are hard capped at 12 minutes per character. Note you could do it on one character, log off and do it on another. They actually changed this a while ago. It used to be server bound instead of character bound, so this is actually a benefit where you could run on multiple characters if you were so inclined. But save just for one character, 8,000 runs, which average out 12 minutes each, would mean 96,000 minutes, 1,600 hours, or about 67 days played straight of farming of Diamol East for one item. Do you even have that much time played on your main? People with this much gold tend to value their gold a little bit more than this because they actually appreciate the long-term commitment, game knowledge and dedication it actually takes to achieve this volume of wealth. This is coming from a top-end guild though, and high-end raiding and speedrunning ain't cheap. There is a bit of a tinfoil hat theory going on here that the gold is being bought and given to a raid member, have them pop along to a raid and have other people bid them up when big items drop, so the gold pot ends up to an absolutely obscene amount. Then at the end of the GDKP, you get to split an absolutely massive amount of gold, which is very likely to have been bought amongst dozens of people. I did hear the payout for each player at the end of the run was about 7,000 gold as well. That just puts into perspective how much money was thrown into the pot in that run. Do you remember back a couple of months ago there was all that drama when a lot of guilds in contention for World First back in Nilo for the Waking City were all buying gold, and the whole fiasco around the Gallywix gold selling, where it turned out instead of buying tokens, people were just buying straight from gold selling sites instead. The amount of gold people had to sink to remain competitive was completely insane. I mean, here's another quote from Limit Max saying they're about $40,000 in terms of tokens in debt. No, they didn't straight up say we bought the gold, but that's just the amount they had to borrow to remain competitive in the large scale of things. So with these guilds in Classic, buy gold, give it to a number of people, bid each other up in GDKPs, you even just chuck it on stream. I mean, it doesn't seem to matter at this point, does it? Each person gets a 4-digit cut of the profits at the end, and you dish them out, and you're pretty much good to go for as much consumables as you can possibly afford moving forwards. Could very well be a thing with a lot of the top guilds, just because of how prices can be with the high tier items and especially flasks. But there's so many GDKPs at the moment where items are being sold for just 5-digit numbers, let alone 6. Which outside of the Chinese servers of WoW is just crazy. You might remember as well a little while ago when I looked at the new bots that were popping up in Blackrock Depths of all those rogues that were just sitting there pickpocketing all day, and since they were in an instance with an endlessly respawning amount of mobs to pickpocket, they're just basically sitting there all day, every day, printing gold, and the only way to actually report them is to whisper them and then right click and report them, even though that's not really anything to go off, to be honest. Well, here you go then. This is the end game of what that causes, this sheer amount of gold. I'd like to say stuff like this needs to stop and boycott GDKPs, but we all know that ain't gonna happen. People are pricing themselves and others out of the game and putting themselves into a vicious cycle of forced interaction with gold buyers. And gold still really matters in TBC, you know. An economical reset doesn't stop rogues in BRD from farming away happily either, and no doubt there will only be many new ways discovered in the expansion to come. If anything, it's just a band-aid on a much more severe diagnosis. Anyways, there you go. I don't know, I just felt like talking about that subject because I couldn't believe that an item had actually gone for that much on European servers. Maybe we're going to see even more crazy prices to come, but we'll have to wait and see for that. Anyways, let me know your thoughts. A nice light subject today, wasn't it? Thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I will see you all in the next one very soon. If you like what you see, do give the video a like and subscribe, as there will be plenty more to come. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.